What? How many texters and social media users do we have out there? Don't be shy. Don't be afraid to admit it. So most of you can fill in the rest of us as to what today's message title means. Anybody? Shout it out. Shaking my head. Who's been shaking their head quite a bit recently? Sure, many of us have. We liked the election outcome, and we don't know how anyone could think otherwise. We don't like the election outcome and can't believe it turned out the way it did. We don't know what all the fuss is about all over the world. We shake our heads and worry about this world. Jesus is continuing his famous Sermon on the Mount that included the Beatitudes that we talked about last week, his sayings about who is blessed, happy, or fortunate, and what our lives will be like if we do what Jesus says. Presumably, many in his audience are people eager to hear a message that will show them how to liberate themselves from Roman rule. Instead, the message they get is if you want to make Israel great again, you've got to get back to being the people that live according to God's will. And just how are they supposed to do that? Jesus uses the metaphors of salt and light. We are to be the salt and the guiding light. Salt was commonly used as payment to Roman soldiers, which is where we get the word salary and the saying about whether or not a person is worth their salt. Our bodies need salt, and it's necessary for chemical reactions in cooking and baking, not just the dirt that winds up in the pot when you're out in the camp out. It's a preservative as well as a corrosive. I guess you could say the auto industry kind of counts on salt in a way to help their business. Jesus picks light as his other example as he reaches back to Isaiah to make his point. This is the kind of fast day that I'm after, to break the chains of injustice, get rid of exploitation in the workplace, free the oppressed, cancel debts. What I'm interested in seeing you do is sharing your food with the hungry, inviting the homeless poor into your homes, putting clothes on the shivering ill-clad. Do this and the lights will turn on, and your lives will turn around at once. If you are generous with the hungry and you start giving yourselves to the down and out, your lives will begin to glow in the darkness. Your shadowed lives will be bathed in sunlight. Like any crowd, I'm willing to bet by now there's plenty of people that are shaking their heads. You want me to do what, Jesus? I got the Romans with their foot on my throat. The text doesn't tell us, but there were likely more than a few guys saying, let's go, back to the car. You can watch the rest on your phone if you want. In their best forms, the organizations of the Girl Scouts and the Boy Scouts strive to exemplify teachings such as Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. Both organizations have as part of their laws words about trustworthiness, honesty, fairness, kindness, and compassion. All the while being courageous enough to stand up and do what is right and just. The Boy Scouts of America took a huge step forward last week to be right and just, with a declaration that opens the organization for the transgendered. We're not going to take the time this morning to discuss it, and I'm sure there is ample disagreement, even among those assembled in this room. And head shaking is going on. But I want you to know that this church is not ignoring the very world issues that face us. My phone number is on your bulletin. Call me tomorrow. Today is about recognizing principles that make scouting worthwhile, not political. And it is only right that we recognize that, to their credit, the Girl Scouts go one step further than the Boy Scouts and have in their law to make the world a better place. According to family legend, my great-grandfather, Salvatore Acri, stowed away on a boat when he was 14 and snuck into America. He's not on the register at Ellis Island. Born in Castiglione Cosentino, in the hill country, just above the toe of Italy's boot. He wanted to escape the crushing poverty. Somehow he wound up in Youngstown, Ohio, with thousands of others from Europe who were seeking the same opportunity. As much as we might be tempted to say that every immigrant to our shores of that era has a pulled yourself up by the bootstraps kind of story, it most certainly is not the case. With few exceptions, it took the kindness of strangers to assist in ways big and small to help those seekers adjust to life in America. Gramps was an extremely hard worker who, as a foreman, walked the railroad track from the Briar Hill Works to the Camel Works and back again daily. And then went to work at his grocery store when he got home. For relaxation, he read the newspaper. Countless families of Briar Hill made it through the Depression with the food in their bellies that they didn't pay for, because he was the salt of the earth in a literal light on the side of that hill. Because he was an immigrant that wanted to make the world a better place. Mary Curtis of the Congressional Quarterly Roll Call had an op-ed piece in this week's newspaper where she offered a dismal view that Gramps would not recognize. With American citizens now caught in a cycle of disrespect and payback, with little sympathy or empathy to spare for the other, any consensus or common ground is doubtful. That's her quote. Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, First Federated Church, all of you parents that are here, America and the world needs you to prove her wrong. And I'm certain she would be delighted to be proven wrong. Jesus said, let me tell you why you are here. You are here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. The God flavors of this earth are more than meat and potatoes. It's anything made with San Marzano tomatoes. It's haluski and pierogies. It's burritos and guacamole. It's gyros and baklava. It's Szechuan chicken and Mongolian beef. And yes, it's shawarma and stuffed grape leaves. It's people who stand up to bigotry and racism and bullies. It's people who welcome the refugee. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the famous psychiatrist and author, she said, people are like stained glass windows. They sparkle and shine when the sun is out. But when the darkness sets in, their true beauty is revealed only if there is a light from within. Will you be the person, like this little guy here, that shines a light in the darkest night with the light that drowns out racism, homophobia, and hate? Will you be the light that guides others to opportunities to ease hunger and help refugees? And you Trekkies out there know that we don't have to worry about populating other planets until we learn how to get along on this one. So will you quit shaking your head and be worth your salt? Amen.